Hello, sports card collectors and investors. Thanks for joining me again for another episode. Today I am going back to my nostalgia, going back to the 80s to talk about a guy who, largely forgotten. I know that Gary Vee talks about him on occasion and has been, kind of vocal about how he really likes his cards and, likes the potential of his cards, and it makes sense. He's a guy that's kind of, he's been put on the back burner because we've been talking a lot more about, that 92 Dream Team with the Last Dance documentary out. And so, the guy I'm talking about is Hakeem Olajuwon, Hakeem the Dream. And he didn't play on the 92 Dream Team, but he did play on the 96 Dream Team. So, for those that are trying to get ahead of the curve and, when's the next documentary coming out, what will it cover? Well, if they go into the 96 Dream Team, which you kind of assume that could be a follow-up, Hakeem was a big part of that team. So anyway, today I'm going to give you a little bit of a background on him, and then I'm going to go into some cards that I feel like, if you were going to target Hakeem, these would be the ones that, in those 80s cards that you would want to look at. And I've got PSA Pop reports, and I've got some recent pricing, so you can kind of see some of the price points and where you might be able to get in depending on your budget. So first off, Hakeem was born in Nigeria, and so he's one of those guys that came over in the 80s. It was something that he was unheralded. He wasn't recruited hard just because that was back in the 80s. They weren't exactly sending scouts all over the world in the same way that they are now, and so this guy went largely kind of unknown before he did move to Texas, but he was a absolute force in the paint. I mean, he had a move. He had a lot of moves, a lot of spins and a lot of fakes. The Dream Shake is one of his classic moves. And so, this guy, he was just an absolute beast. He was the first overall pick in the 84 draft. Most people don't realize that. He went first. Sam Bowie went second to the Blazers. And then Jordan went third overall to the Bulls. And of course, as history looks back on that draft, there's probably Blazers fans that are kind of contemplating that Sam Bowie pick. But I don't want to twist the knife for Blazers fans out there. So, but Olajuwon was that heralded coming out of school, where he was first overall over Michael Jordan. So. And if you look back, I mean, even I believe Rockets executives have said they wouldn't have changed a thing. They still, obviously they would have taken Michael Jordan or Hakeem Olajuwon, but they are very happy with that Olajuwon pick. He had a fantastic career there. They did win 2 championships. He was a 2-time Finals MVP. I'm not sure if he still holds the all-time NBA leader for blocks, but he did for a long time. If he isn't still the leader in that category. And then he also did win a league MVP as well. So, I mean, this guy had a highly successful career, Hall of Fame career. But again, he just kind of, he's not as talked about as much. He was, a big man. And so maybe it's just because centers aren't a big part of the NBA game nowadays, or just centers have adapted to now they're, 3-point specialists. Whereas Olajuwon was a classic, center, but very versatile, extremely agile, had a million moves. The guy was a rebounding machine, had a career rebounding average of 11.1 per game. I mean, he was a force to be reckoned with. He was highly respected. I watched a documentary on Shaq recently. I think it was the Shaq Penny 30 for 30 maybe. I can't remember which one it was, but Shaq talks about the one guy that he did not want to face, and it was Hakeem Olajuwon. That was the one guy that he respected tremendously coming into the league and wanted to learn from. And so, again, I can't say enough about this guy. For me, I've been focused a lot more on the newer players, and there's a lot of exciting players, whether it be Zion or Luka or, some of these new players that are in the league. And so I haven't focused as much on those 80s guys, but I went back to this one because I thought this would be good to make a video about. I should do some research and video it. So here we go. So I'm going to start with the most obvious one. It's his 1986 Fleer rookie card. This card has gone up massively in price over the last 2 years. But as it sits right now, and this is the 86 Fleer rookie number 82, recent sales of his PSA 10, I see one sale at late April at $2,602.50. And the PSA Pop count on this one is 317, so it's actually very similar to the Michael Jordan rookie card as far as the PSA 10 Pop reports go. Now, granted, do I think Olajuwons are going to reach $40,000, $50,000 like Jordan's? I don't know, possibly, but I guess that kind of gives you an idea of the ceiling for this card, because Jordan kind of represents a ceiling for a lot of these sets as far as how high we believe they can go, at least in the near future. So. At $2,600 for PSA 10, I didn't do lots of data as far as what that looks like 90 days back, but it is a pretty solid card. And if you're looking for kind of that, I think we should also not discount a PSA 9. PSA 9s are selling right at about $600 recently for this card. So if that's more in line with your budget and you want to get in on Olajuwon, there's 1,701 PSA 9s on the current Pop report. So there are a lot more of them, but if that's more in the price range, then there you go. That could be an option. Next, I've got the 86 Fleer rookie sticker for Olajuwon, and that's in a PSA 10. There is one recent sale that I found on April 2nd. That was $1,699, which you might be thinking like, man, that's pretty high for a sticker. But if you look at the PSA 10 Pop report currently, there's 53 out in the wild. So, that's not that many. So, I guess that kind of makes sense. And these stickers have gone up. I did a video recently where a Jordan sticker PSA 10 was at $25,000. So, those stickers, let's not discount those cards. Those are very popular cards, and this is in his rookie year. So. That's my next one. All right, and then his second year card, 87 Fleer number 80. I could not find a PSA 10 recent sale. There's only 34 PSA 10s out there, so that's probably why I couldn't find one on eBay in the last 90 days. Not to say there wasn't one, I just didn't see it. But in a PSA 9, you can find these anywhere from $75 to maybe $115. There are 453 PSA 9s currently out in existence. So it's not crazy numbers, but so that one could be more affordable. The second year cards are becoming more and more common, for collectors and investors to jump in on. So that could be an option. And I am going to do a video later as well, comparing some fairly popular second year cards for some big stars. So stay tuned for that one. I should go ahead and mention, please subscribe, because we put out videos daily. So yeah, that's my next pick, is that 87 Fleer, PSA 9 or PSA 10 if you can find it. Of course, the PSA 10 I'm assuming is going to be substantially higher than that $75 to $115 price for the PSA 9 currently. Next, I've got an 87-88 Fleer sticker, and this one. I am showing, okay, so not a lot of sales for this one. In a PSA 10, I couldn't actually even find a sale. PSA 9s, these were about $50 price range, but back in March. So as we all know, prices have drastically changed here in May than what they were in March. So can't guarantee that you could find one at $50, but PSA 9s for these, the Pop report is sitting at $230 right now. So they are out there, but they're not super rare, but they're not super available. So keep an eye out for that card. All right, next up I've got 89 Fleer number 61 and a PSA 10. Again, not loads of these out there, and it could be that they're out there, they just haven't been submitted. There could be a lot of raw cards of this out there that haven't been submitted. Who knows? But the PSA 10 Pop report for this one sits at $150 currently. And they're selling fairly, it looks like there's been a few sales here recently between $80 and $85. So again, if you don't have $2,000, $2,500 to go in on a rookie card for Olajuwon, but you want to get involved, $80, $85 for a PSA 10. I think that's it's a good price point for those that are looking to get in on some of these 80s cards. And the last card I've got on my list is the 1989 Fleer All-Stars number 2 PSA 10. This is another card that I couldn't really find many recent sales. There's one on March 1st for $192.50. Now there's only 26 on the PSA 10 Pop report. That's probably why I'm not seeing many sales. Again, it's not that there's not, I mean, there's an element of scarcity because there's not a lot of them on the Pop report, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not in existence. It could just be that people haven't sent those in, to get graded. And so, they've just had other priorities, and that's totally fine. I'm still banking, though, on the fact that these are tough grades, just being more of a vintage card from the late 80s. How many of them are really going to come back in a 9 or a 10? I mean, maybe it's a fair amount. I don't know, but are people going to be sending in, thousands of these? Again, and that's another question. And I'm just going to count on the fact that there's just not going to be a lot of these graded cards in that 9-10 mint, range. So I think that, if you're buying in that 9-10 mint, there's scarcity there for sure. And I'm always kind of looking for that scarcity. There are more of these in a PSA 9, and I'm sure the pricing is less than that $192.50. There's 139 PSA 9s showing in existence, and so these are cards that I like. And again, I know I've mentioned this in recent videos, but when choosing, I'm looking at sets where it's very difficult to get packs for. If you're looking at 90s cards, a lot of people are like, that's junk. That's the junk wax era. I'm not buying any cards in those sets. And I agree. If you're going from 1990 to 1994, 95, hoops and tops. I mean, skybox and there's those sets are widely. They were so highly produced that you can go on eBay right now and buy boxes of them. You can buy a case. And they're fairly affordable. It's not $50 a pack. Whereas if you start going back to 89, I would say 89 is probably where the print runs really start to shoot up. But if you're at 88 or less, then if you're trying to find packs of 87, 88 Fleer, you're going to pay for those, and they're rare, So I'm looking at that as I'm buying these cards because I'm thinking, are they going to be able to, if there's a big run, huge demand, and it's like, all right, we're going to go and chase these packs and we're going to find all these cards and send them in for grading. How easy is that going to be to do? And so that's my mindset, right or wrong. That's my mindset when I'm looking at cards. Not all cards, but in particular when I'm looking at these 80s stars. So anyway, thank you very much again, guys. I know this was I'm not I'm still learning on Hakeem Olajuwon. I don't have tons of his cards, but I was just thinking about who's a player that's outside of that 92 Dream Team. This is a 96 Dream Teamer that's kind of unheralded. I mean, I know Gary V's talked about him, but he's not necessarily on everybody's radar, but he is a top. He was voted one of the top 50 NBA players of all time, and he's realistically probably in the top 20. So he's a guy that he's just an overall solid player, great image, great family man. I mean, it's he's definitely just a good overall guy. So thanks very much for joining us for this video, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care, guys.